Hi everybody and welcome back to the Crafty Crew podcast. My name is Kinger aka Big Juicy and I'm joined as always by Mark.
Hello.
By Nally.
Well.
And by Walshy.
Good dag.
Say that again?
Good dag.
Good dag. Good dag.
I had to double check that I hadn't said it already.
It's a good dog. It's a playful, clever dog.
Good dag, good dag, good dag, good dag.
Good dag. Denmark.
No.
Oh.
Norway.
Yeah, Norway.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was about to say, it's like, it's probably close, but I actually write down the name of the country beside it to double check, and like, is it Denmark?
That's see, I know you, and I know once you hesitated after Kinger said Denmark, that it was one of them countries.
yeah.
Even though you picked it probably 2 minutes ago, you have forgotten in that time which one of them countries it was.
As I said to Nally, I have all of this done since Monday.
To be fair, I was going to go Finland if it wasn't Norway, because I was in the same boat as you, Mark. It was one of the Scandies.
A handy Scandi.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. So, we are about to...
No,
our last
no,
episode of the season.
I wasn't ready. Don't do it. No.
We'll have a very quick discussion at the end about our personal highlights, favourite beers that we've had this season. But today and this week, it's a little bit of a venture off course for the season. We actually have two beers that don't really represent the counties they're representing, but here we are. We have Left Hand. We have Left Hand's Wheels Goes Round, representing Tyrone, I believe, because of the left hand. That makes sense.
Yep,
right?
that's right.
Left
Yeah.
hand of Ulster, yeah, or red hand of Ulster even. And then we have Brews Double Panda, which is actually representing Leitrim, but like is it Leitrim / Meath? Is that
Kind of, yeah.
It's Leitrim, and if you want, I can start and segue us into that, and I won't make you guess like we normally do, Kinger.
Yeah, happy days.
Who's doing what? So yeah, it is representing Leitrim, but this is probably like a fair cop from us. Okay, so the Urban Jungle range is actually a Carrick Brewing invention. So Carrick Brewing were based in Drumshanbo in Leitrim, and in 2020 they merged with Brewery from Trim in Meath, and they moved their brewing operation to Trim. So the head brewer from Carrick also moved over and became the new head brewer of Brew. Yeah, his name is Francesco Sottomano. So we've mentioned this before on our Meath episode because Brew were represented there. But the Urban Jungle range, of which Double Panda is a part of, is a Carrick Brewing invention, and the head brewer from Carrick Brewing brewed it. They even updated all the normal brew recipes because they weren't so great, and now they're better. But yeah, it's really, really Leitrim inspired. So away to Leitrim. Well done, lads. You may be the smallest county in Ireland, but you make the biggest tiramisu stout I've ever had.
Solid.
very solid? I actually feel sad asking this for the last time. Well, the second last time this season. Walshy, tell us a bit about Leitrim, will you?
I'll tell you about something. Whether it's about Leitrim, I mean, Leitrim is mentioned. I don't know if I'll be given any information on it. But Leitrim is known as the Ridge County. Hunky Dories have ridges. Hunky Dories were established in 1996. Bill Clinton was re-elected in 1996. He was born in Hope, Arkansas. Hope is a brewery based in Dublin. Dublin won the All-Ireland in 2011. In 2011, Carrick Brewing Company was established. Carrick was the brewery from Leitrim before forming with Brew, hence why we are drinking something from Brew.
That's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, full circle there, Walshy.
Yeah. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Well done, bud. Just took
There's
an
someone
entire
else.
season. Just an entire season to get around to what you actually wanted to do.
Down to the last, 2 episodes. I finally figured out
Finally
what
found your
I'm
niche.
trying to do. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's got one more go to fuck it all up again. So don't
Yeah,
count
yeah.
it yet.
We're going on a long walk for the next one.
I'm sure we are. Yeah. that's because the next.
I missed all of that. I missed as soon as I said go Walshy, I missed everything he said.
Oh, it's a surprise. Yeah, it's even better.
The recording's there though, so it's fine. I'll just put in an obligatory. Oh Jesus, Walshy, what the hell was that about, Nally?
I won't mind Kinger. So one time it was actually pretty good. So definitely leave that in for the crack. But yeah, so Walshy, that long walk you're talking about for this, is it because we have to go all the way to Colorado for our Tyrone beer?
Maybe.
So we're off to Colorado for Left Hand Brewing Company's Wheels Gose Around, which is a Gose, and it's a great name, great play on words. Well done, fair play. Love a good pun name in a beer. So Left Hand Brewing Company, the reason we've gone for this is anyone who knows the brewery will know that their symbol is it's a red hand. It looks like the red hand of Ulster, which is also the flag of Tyrone. So, I think we did well in finding something that was somewhat similar to Tyrone and not just picking another Nordy brewery beer. So, fair play to us. Yeah, I did it. I tooted our horn. It happens. Deal with it. So, Left Hand Brewing Company was founded, from what I can see, the earliest award that they've got was in 1994. And they won an award for craft beer brewing. So they're a pretty old craft beer brewery, so they are, based over in Colorado in America. They have a shit ton of beers out. Like, they have so many different styles, different versions of beers. There's such a wide selection. If anyone gets a chance to go through them, just get any you can. They have a great selection of beers. And we're trying the Gose today. We're looking forward to this one now. This is the one that's they do they raise money for different charities and stuff, and the Wheels Gose Around is in association with they do a bike for MS. So they do cycles and stuff like that to raise money for MS. So that's why this is the Wheels Gose Around. So it's some of the profits of this go towards an MS charity, which is pretty cool. But what they're really famous for is they were the first brewery in the US to can a stout using a widget. So we all know the widgets that you get in Guinness cans helps the nitrogen. So these were the first US brewery to do it in the US. But what they've also done is they've managed to bottle nitro stout and keep the nitro, the nitro characteristics in the nitro stout in a bottle. They're the only company so far that I know of that have kind of gotten this right on a consistent basis and are just able to nail it now, which is crazy because so the reason they do it with the nitro is it forms the smaller bubbles, which makes the head kind of look creamier and thicker, and it's a smoother kind of taste on the beer. But I think that's a huge thing. It's ridiculous. They basically invented how to bottle beer with nitro in it, which is really cool. So they have a couple of beers on it. Their big famous one is the Nitro Milk Stout. And then they have a couple of takes on that. They have the Nitro Milk Stout peanut butter version, and they have a couple of other ones. Pretty good, solid beers. They have a Raspberry Milk Stout as well, which is a bit mad. If anyone gets to give it a go, it's a strange one. It's weird. Definitely worth a try just to say you've tried it. But I don't know if I go back for it.
That's definitely one that I won't be trying for sure.
100% getting it for you for next season. But so overall, they're a well-established brewery. They've won heaps of awards. They do a lot of good work as well in the community. Like this one here, for example, the MS charity. They've raised millions for over the years, and they do a couple of other charities and stuff like that around the place. Just an all-around decent company. So I'm glad we actually went with something good for Tyrone, because apparently they're just dicks and don't want to give us beer. So I'm glad we got away from it.
I'll tell them what they can do with their All-Ireland.
They'll need a passport to bring it back now.
They will, yeah. Walshy, have you leaned into Tyrone or Colorado for your
Both.
Walshy's wisdoms?
Both. This is where I've clarified my long walk. It's starting in Tyrone and finishing in Colorado. There was a little bit of a cop out in the middle just to kind of try join both of them, but I don't know what brewery we had planned on starting with. But there's a Poker Tree Brewing in Tyrone that opened in 2014. In 2014, Kerry beat Donegal in the All-Ireland. Donegal won the All-Ireland in 2012. In 2012, Dog the Bounty Hunter finished filming dog's real name is Dwayne Chapman and is from Colorado, where Left Hand Brewing is based.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
See what?
you've had worse.
Yeah, no, it was the fact that I went back to back kind of with the football. I wasn't happy about, but I needed a link.
Give it to you.
It was the only link I could come up with.
That's pretty good, Walshy. We'll give you that
Yeah.
one.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Can we drink some beer now?
Yeah, where do you
Yeah.
want to start?
Let's go to the nearest one, and we'll start with Left Hand Brewing Wheels Goes Around.
Okay.
Right, boys.
Crack 'em open.
Struggling, Kinger.
I was a little bit. Yeah.
So interestingly enough, this is the first Gose we've had on the podcast. So it's taken us this long to get to it, and from the sounds of it, Kinger, you've gotten the nice sour smell of it up there.
Ooh-wee. That is pungent.
Yeah. So Goses are warm fermented beers from Germany. They originated in a region called Goslar. Typically they have about 50% or more of the grain bill being malted wheat. And there's this interesting thing I was looking up about them. So there's a thing in Germany called the Reinheitsgebot, which is like a kind of purity laws about beer, and it dates back to like the 1500s. So in Germany, it's a real if you brew as per these rules, you can say you're Reinheitsgebot compliant, and it's a really big thing with consumers that if they see that, they kind of view it as a traditional pure beer, no funky additives and stuff to it. So it's a really big marketing tool over there. Some countries, like some places in Norway, Cloud from Korea, some random breweries around the place outside of Germany claim to brew via this process as well for marketing purposes. But I think it's really cool that the laws that kind of dictate it are like 600 years old at this stage.
Yeah, it's class, but I think the weirdest thing is that it's taken us until now to talk about that, which is something I thought we would have talked about many a time by now. But yeah, it's really cool, the German purity laws for beer. It was basically just to help them, kind of make a consistent product across the region when people were selling absolute garbage all around the place. Like, so getting on to the old Gose here, it's a nice colour. So this is a Gose. It's got raspberry and lemon peel in it as well for flavouring, obviously. But it's a nice colour. It's kind of like a pink, like a dark pink. Pretty, it doesn't look very carbonated. And it's not got a lot of haze in it. Now it isn't exactly see through, but it's not hazy either.
It looks like a summer fruits my waddy, essentially, is kind of the color.
That's a good shout.
It's got that typical raspberry fruited sour smell to it. Now it's nowhere near as strong as your usual sours, but it is got that, what most of them these days are raspberry, because of the tartness. So
yeah, and I think mixed with the lemon in this is doing, it kind of really adds to that kind of the style that it's supposed to be, the Gose kind of sour, between the tartness from the raspberry and the lemon as well. It really adds to it, in my opinion. So it's got zero head really. There's no head retention on it for me anyway. It disappears pretty quick.
Weirdly, so I haven't had a whole lot of sours or Goses, and I know they're different. But this is the first one that I've had that I can actually. There's a real subtle flavor of hops coming through, which I wasn't expecting. I thought just looking at it and smelling it, I thought it was going to be like a bang of kind of like real kind of sour flavor. But it's actually it's a bit disarming actually.
yeah, so Goses they tend to be traditionally brewed with like coriander, which is like against the Reinheitsgebot rules, but they make an exception for Goses. So there's always some sort of florally spice in there, and the hop tones are usually pretty muted, so you may be just getting the floral notes of some additive in there. But either way, I do agree with you. It's really subtle, isn't it? It's like normally with sours, it's a big punch in the mouth, but with this, it's really relaxed.
Yeah, it's nice. It's lovely.
Yeah, so that kind of subtlety that's there it really adds to the flavour, and the hops in the background are nice. It's not very carbonated at all. I don't think so anyway. A little bit, but not super carbonated at all. Which is fine by me for this style. I think this is fine. I don't mind that it's a little bit. It's not flat, but it's certainly, it's more towards that than any of the more refreshing crisp beers that we've had. I think this one finishes kind of dry, but that's more from the tartness of the beer than any carbonation that's there.
Yeah, Walshy, what do you think of this as somebody who likes, dunking your head in a bucket of sours every 24 to 48 hours?
Just to say, and that I tried is like I'll have a sesh or a sour day the other day. I had 3 sours. I'm like, no, that's enough. Not able for any more. I had it like a good while ago, and it was like one of my favorites at the time. But now that I've had some and I've stayed before them really tarty ones, in comparison to some of the ones that I've had since, it's definitely not as tart as some of them. There's a bit of a kick at the start. It doesn't really stay tart for long, I find. But I still find it very refreshing, very very nice. But it's kind of light, but it is 4.4%. But no, I enjoy it now. I enjoy it.
It would be a good gateway sour, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, going into some of the heavier stuff would be a good kind of building block into one of the, I don't know, sturdier lads.
Yeah, I think the other thing that'll help it is it doesn't smell like feet. So that's a bonus, because a lot of sours smell like feet.
See, maybe it's because I've had so many sours, especially in the last few months, but I don't know. Maybe it's a thing I'm just used to the smells now. I don't hate it as much anymore.
This is like the first of 3 conversations where Walshy's like, oh, I don't hate the smell anymore. Oh, I actually love the smell. Oh, I spend all my money on OnlyFans videos of women rubbing their feet together.
That got dark really quick.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I pay for women to show me their feet. Cool.
Admitting it is the first step.
Yeah.
I think with this, I know I've said it before. I have a bad habit of kind of like nearly expecting what the beer is going to be like before I drink it, just by looking at the can. And I feel like this, in my mind, this was going to be way more sour than it is. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like, it doesn't take away from the beer, to be fair. Like you were saying earlier, Ali, it's not as carbonated as I was expecting either. And I think maybe if it had a bit more kind of busyness on the tongue, it might be a bit nicer for some reason.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Kinger, but I think, for me, I think the way they'd have to go for the busyness that you're talking about is if they went a bit more sour. I think if you carbonate this more, it's going to wash away that sour taste even quicker, which I think would detract from it. If you went a little bit more sour, it might give you that tartness that you're looking for. You can kind of get that tartness or that crispness either from carbonation or from making it a bit more sour. And I think for this one, if you went that bit more sour, it might be a bit more. I completely get what you mean. Like, I just don't know if carbonation would work because it would wash away that taste too quickly.
Okay.
Another thing I'll say, for like, as I'm kind of nearly finished it, normally with sours, it's a really strong kick in the face taste with it, right? So it's a really strong flavorful profile. With this, maybe because it's so subtle, it's kind of getting a bit watery towards the end, and I'm wondering if my taste buds have been kind of dimmed a little bit by it, but it dimmed to the point where it doesn't have enough flavor to still be kind of received in my mouth. I'm getting like a watery aftertaste with it.
Say that last sentence again.
I'm getting like a watery aftertaste with it.
No, it was the one before it I thought was much funnier. But anyway, yeah, I'd agree with you, Mark. Don't worry about it. You'll catch it up. Yeah, to receive it into your mouth. Yeah, he
Say
said
what
it.
you want. For once, I have the power.
I thought about that after I said it. I'm devastated. That's one thing that's cut. Damn it.
Yeah. I am a petty man. I'm a petty man.
Oh, I know. It's fair. It happens. I do the same for the crack. But yeah, no, I'd agree with you, Mark. It does get kind of watery near the end, which is a bit of a shame because it starts off so well. The smell, like we said, is kind of pleasant. It's not overpowering like other sours. At the start, when you get the first couple of sips in, it's very pleasant. It's really nice. There's not that real sharp carbonation that Kinger was saying there. I do think that that's a good thing for this beer, but I do think it would need to go more sour because it would help it from being overly watery, like you're saying, Mark, and it would probably give it that extra bite and bit of busyness that you're saying, Kinger. So I think if it just went that little bit more to the sour side, just lean in. If it just leant in a bit more, I think this would be a savage beer.
So will we kick on to the ratings then, will we? Kinger, remind us for the last time this year what our ratings is.
So for the last time, the Crafty Crew rating system starts at unbearable. It then goes booze.
Booze.
Mid of the road is just beer. Then it's up a notch to beautiful, and then finally it's all the way to the unbeer-leavable. So I'll start it off because I don't think I start too many of these off for some reason. But I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think it doesn't do anything wrong. It says raspberry and kind of hints of lemon on the can, and that's what you get for me. I know you're saying earlier that it gets a bit watery towards the end mark. I don't get that. I find it fairly consistent the whole way through. I would like either a bit more kind of sour flavoring or a bit more carbonation. I think would bump it up a good bit. But other than that, I think it's a pretty damn good beer.
Yeah, so Kinger, I'll go next, and I go with just beer. It's a solid beer, nothing really wrong with it. But for me, it's missing that that extra kick from. I think it's the sourness that needs to be bumped up a notch to really shine through. I think if it does that, easily Kinger could get it up to beautiful or possibly even unbelievable. But it's just missing that for me at the minute. Solid beer, a great gateway beer, like you were saying, Mark, for people wanting to try sours or goses, because it's not over the top, and it's still quite low in percentage. Whereas some of those other sours and stuff you get up in 5.6%. This is only 4.4, so a really solid way to start. So just beer for me, but definitely one of the more positive ones.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Nally. Just beer for me also. For all the reasons you said, it's grand. It does lose a little bit near the end, and for that, it kind of does suffer a bit. I will say, not that easy to get these guys in person, but they're available on a lot of craft beer websites around Ireland. So I would highly recommend anyone listening, if you haven't tried a sour before, maybe you've heard us talking about them or seen them on a shop shelf, and you're just a bit hesitant about giving it a go, this is definitely the one for you to be your first sour. And if you don't like the flavours or the tartness, because there's enough of that there that gives you a hint of the style, then maybe it's not for you right now. But if you do enjoy it, please move on, because there's a whole world of delicious beers out there waiting for you. But yeah, just beer for me.
It's probably the most conflicted I've been about beer on it. Because I do really enjoy it, and I think in one way, but there is them one or two little points that the two lads have made at the same time. Near the end, it feels a bit more watery than still, and like Nally said, I love my extreme sours, and I think, like you said, if I had that little bit more, it might, the taste might last a bit more. So yeah, and I'm gonna go a sad just beer. I'm disappointed in giving it a just beer, but just there's one or two things missing that would be fairly big for my standards when it comes to sours or goses in this term. So yeah, reluctable just beer for me.
You look so sad, man. I wish I was there to give you a hug.
I wish you weren't.
Yeah, and that's a note to left hand. That's a note to Left Hand Brewing. You haven't lived up to Walshy's high standards of sours, so that's from the Crafty Crew podcast, a Just Beer, which means I cannot wait for Kinger to do the best Tyrone, Colorado accent. So a Tyrone lad who's lived in Colorado for 6 years, go for it.
But just before I get into that, attempting that, I want to commend Walshy on his invention of a new word. Is reluctable a word?
It is now.
Or is he so disappointed he's come up with new words to describe beers now?
It's not that I'm disappointed. I usually just say things, and half of the time they're not actually words anyway, so I'm sticking to my guns.
Well, okay, so do you want an attempt at a Tyrone accent or an attempt at a Colorado accent?
Both.
Ooh, Tyrone, finish Colorado.
The Crafty Crew are after giving an awful bad just beer to Left Hand Brewings. Wheels goes round, and the boys in Tyrone and Colorado aren't very happy with that, man. Bad.
Love it. Dead pigeon.
Mark, you threw together a last minute question mark quiz for us this week, did you?
Yeah, our final question mark of the season. So we've been dancing our merry way up and down the country, visiting all the different counties. So this is a quiz about the counties of Ireland with a typical
balls.
question at the end for a tiebreaker that, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these are fairly guessable or obvious, but we'll do the old honours system.
Is the tiebreaker question, is the answer 32? Is it how many counties are in Ireland? Because I feel like I might nail that.
If I was going to do that, I'd be much more controversial and say 26, but
Yeah, true, actually.
but no, it's not that, just to be clear.
Okay.
In case any of
Fine.
our Northern listeners stop listening now. Okay, question 1. St. Valentine's remains are in a church somewhere in Ireland. What county is the church in? Mr. Paul Walsh.
Kerry.
Kerry. Mr. Stephen Nally.
Wicklow.
And Mr. Big Juicy?
Monaghan.
It's Dublin. They're in Whitefriar Church in Dublin. The city of romance, as everyone knows.
Sure.
Yeah.
You telling yourself.
Okay, so I think this is an easy one. You should all get it, okay? What county is the oldest pub in Ireland in? Nally, you're going first.
You're a dick, but it's Roscommon.
Okay, Kinger, you're going next.
I think technically it is in Roscommon.
And Mr. Walshy?
Yeah, what's common?
It's Westmeath, lads.
Over the bridge
Across
is
the
what's
bridge,
common.
it's Roscommon. Over the bridge is Roscommon.
Not according to Sean's website and Wikipedia and another website I found. So,
Across the bridge is Roscommon,
But
though.
once you cross the bridge, it's what's common.
is it? Because Athlone is Westmeath.
The Shannon is the border. Part of Westmeath, part of Athlone is Westmeath, and part of it's Roscommon.
The address is Westmeath for the whole of Athlone.
Actually, to be fair, I think the address doesn't change until you get out to like Monksland.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
The whole of Athlone is Westmeath. So if your address is Athlone, you are in Westmeath, and if your address is Monksland, you are in Roscommon.
I'm gonna blame Nally because I feel like if I went first, I would have said Westmeath, and he would have been a smart ass to say Roscommon. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I blame
that's
Nally.
that's fair.
I kind of put this in as like, oh, they're all going to get this, and now I kind of feel as somebody who isn't from there and hasn't been there in a good while, that there's a lot of people who are going to send me some hate over this. So I kind of regret putting the question in, but we're just going to go with it. Zero
go with
points
it.
to
It's fine.
everybody.
That's fine. The plus side is that no one got it right, so
Yeah,
we're all even and
We're
equally
all
stupid,
losers.
or we're all equally right, and Wikipedia and everyone else, including Sean Sparrow's website, can piss off because you're wrong.
Yeah. Brief disclaimer, I didn't actually check Sean's bar website. I just checked their address on Google Maps.
It's close enough, man. It's close enough.
Okay, moving on swiftly. In what county was the first potato planted in Ireland? Kinger, you're going first this time.
Wexford.
Walshy?
I was going to say Wexford as well.
Okay, and Nally?
Yeah, I'm staying Wexford.
It's actually Cork. So by Sir Walter Raleigh, who basically owned Munster.
Did I happen to mention that in one of my quote-unquote facts at one stage?
Yeah.
May have.
Yes, you did.
Episode
It sounded... okay. It sounded very familiar. It was like, I definitely said something about potatoes, but for the life of me, don't remember where.
Well, there we go. Cork. This is a really good quiz. We're doing super well.
1. Okay, so moving on again. The oldest evidence of humans in Ireland was discovered in caves in what county? So it was from about 10,500 BC, and it was a bare bone that had evidence of it being butchered, so they knew that obviously humans had to do that. So it's the oldest evidence we have of humans. So, Mr. Stephen Nally,
Is it Claire?
Mr. Niall King,
I'm going to say Kildare.
Mr. Paul Walsh.
Limerick.
And the answer is Claire. Somebody finally has a point. Well done, Nally.
Alloe Caves, baby. I knew they found
Yep.
a bear there in the Alloe Caves, so.
That is it. Okay, so hopefully you'll all get this. The world famous Puck Fair is in what county? And what animal is crowned king of the Puck Fair every year? So I think Kinger, it's your turn to go first.
Isn't it a goat in Kerry?
Walshy?
Honestly, I've never even heard of it, but I'll say a sheep in Mead.
Just to be close to Kinger, but like not quite close enough, you know?
Go-
And Ali?
Goat and curry.
Yeah, it is a goat who is crowned the king of Kerry, and he travels around all the towns. Good old Kerry.
Curry.
So does that mean that me and Ali actually draw?
Hang on.
No.
Why do you think you?
Why
have
would
more
we
than-
draw, Kinger?
I think Nally wins 3-2. No,
I've beaten you.
I just thought the last question meant everything, like, and everything else before that didn't mean anything.
Who said that's the last question? Who said?
It's not the last question, Kinger.
Oh, I thought that was the last one. Apologies. Okay.
I never said that was the last question. This is the last question.
Jesus.
This is the last question.
so I can still win, is what we're saying.
No, you're too far behind.
You're in with a shout.
Doesn't seem to mean like much last week.
You can win by getting a point, okay, Walshy? Get a point and just win
Okay.
for yourself.
I'll take it.
Okay, the oldest field system in the world exists in Ireland. What county does it exist in? So, Walshy, you're going first.
Oh, that's a lot of fields.
Field system. What the fuck?
Kilkenny.
Kilkenny from Walshy. Nally, what's your answer?
Waterford.
Niall King.
I feel like Kildare has to be an answer at some point.
So you're going with Kildare?
Yeah.
Why would I give the fucking Plains people any justification? The answer is Mayo. It's the Cage of Fields at Mayo.
Oh, okay.
Shite.
So congratulations, Nally, who wins with 3 points. Kinger with 2, and
Hey.
Walshy hitting your average with 0.
I won't mind. I have like notes of each episode, and I scroll back to episode 1, and literally right in front of me, it just says the first potato was planted in Cork.
Literally.
Ah,
literally.
Shut up. Go away. Go away.
Right, before we dwell on that too much, let's move on to this.
No, let's- Let's dwell on it a little longer, Kinger.
No.
For I have one.
Let's not.
Let just a little longer. All right. Okay. Now you can move on. It's fine. I'll allow it.
Right, let's crack open our double panda.
I want to make sure that I'm drinking it out of the right glass / I don't know. So I have like at the minute it's kind of like a Carlsberg kind of Teku style type thing, but it's a pint glass. Is that acceptable, or would it have to be an actual pint glass, full pint, normal pint glass?
I mean, I have no idea.
I'd say it doesn't matter for this. it's going to hit you. It's 10% bad boy. It's going to hit you. So I won't be too worried about what you're drinking it out of. Just make sure it's put down after you take a drink and put that bad boy down. So this is Double Panda by Brew. It's a 10% beer. This is based off their Panda Nero tiramisu dessert stout, which I freaking love. I think it's a great beer. Big fan of it. And this one here, I think, is going to be right up that alley as well. I'm looking forward to Kinger giving it a go. I've had it before a long time ago at this stage, which is unfortunate, and I'm so glad I have it now again. I cannot wait to get into it.
Yeah, I'm the same, Nally. It's been ages since I had it, and I've only had it once. Speaking of cans, like the whole Urban Jungle range can designs are fantastic. They all have a different animal doing some funny shit. But Double Panda is special because it's a black can with a black label, but it's got like embossed gold writing and embossed panda smashing a tiramisu over some electric guitars. Like it's a really, actually, genuinely nice can to hold. You know, so anyone who's looking for it, there's not much of this stuff around. We may even have like the last dregs of it here today. But if you do see it, it's worth picking up and trying.
Just before I get into this, I must just give a quick thanks to Kevin Tempany, who opened my door at training one Sunday about 2 months ago and just threw this in my car and said, "Now, there you go, surprise for you." Knows I
Tempo.
hate stouts. Knows I hate stouts and said, "Here you go." Just gave me a nice double panda. So, cheers, Tempo.
Even the smell hits you.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's not a bad smell, but it's just, I just know it's going to be so much.
It's really sweet. It's really chocolatey, and there's notes of coffee off it there as well. It's proper tiramisu kind of flavors to it. The mouth.
Yeah, did we discuss color and look of it? It's blacker than night, like.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. It's got very little head, and what it does have is like a caramel colored kind of, so off white.
Yeah, so this is definitely Priest Socks black. This is not very, very, very dark blue. This is proper Priest Socks. Pitch black. Very little head, like you're saying, Mark. It is that kind of off-white colour, which is, fine with stouts. It doesn't hold a lot of head, though. It's gone pretty quick.
The mouthfeel on it, then, there's almost a slight fizziness to it, which is a bit unusual. You kind of look at this, it looks so dense and dark, and you're like, this is going to be like drinking treacle. But it's not. It's got a lightness, a kind of bubble on the tongue that's quite refreshing for a stout.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%. I think this is surprisingly light for a 10% stout. It's got a little bit of carbonation, nothing too major, just a bit. But the lightness is what I think is it's so well done. Like, you pour this out and you're looking at it, and even you pick up the can and you see 10% stout, you're expecting something super heavy and sticky and like tar almost. But this is ridiculously light for that high a percentage. I've had some IPAs that are heavier than this and they're only 8-9%. So I think they've done a great job with that. The carbonation is low, but it's still there, which is really nice.
What do you think, Walshy?
I have mixed feelings going into this because I've had Panda Nero before and I love it. Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't sure. You could smell the strength. And I was like, oh, no. You know it's strong as you're drinking it, but you don't get that big hit like you would with, like, I know it's not double IPA, but you're talking double IPA kind of strength here, if not even that bit more. But you don't get hit like it's just pure alcohol. You get all of them, the tiramisu, the coffee, the chocolate, and then you can be like, oh, okay, now I can get the strength of it. But it's not overpowering, if that makes sense. So it's quite nice, but we'll see how, after about half of the can, how I'm feeling.
Yeah, for me, Walshy, I agree with you. You get those lovely flavours. It's quite a smooth drinker for something that kind of tickles off the tongue a little. But when you finish your mouthful, this is what I love, you get this little heat in the back of your throat and it kind of rises up into the back of your palate. And it's just this little migration of heat from the alcohol content. And with those flavours, it's a lovely warming effect. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. I was just going to say the same thing I was going to say about Walshy nailing it with the flavours. And then the thing that's so nice with it is because it's not overpowering on the alcohol on the way down, there is just that slight burning warmth, but in a really good way. Like we talked about some double IPAs and stuff where it's kind of overpowering and just almost vodka-y in nature. Whereas this one for me is just like a freaking like a warm coffee or something, or hot chocolate or something. It's nowhere near that alcohol-y thing. It's just a nice warmth.
When it kind of hits you, you still have the flavors left in your mouth, so it's not hitting you with just alcohol, that alcohol boozy taste. It's like giving some heat to the remnants of the coffee, of the chocolate, of the creaminess there, and it really works. But Kinger, as Mr. Anti-Stout here, you look very pensive there. It's a very big thinking cap you've got on.
I just feel for the first time in my adult life trying a beer, I feel like I found one that is downright dangerous.
Oh, it's very dangerous.
And
very
irresponsible almost. I don't like tiramisu. I've never made any secrets of that.
You did like Panda Nero though.
I know, but luckily I don't get too much of a tiramisu flavour of this. I do get the chocolatey kind of flavour coming through. I'm on the fence about the carbonation. I could do it a bit smoother. But I think my love of dippas and high alcohol content beers, this is weirdly easy to drink for a 10% beer.
Yeah,
it's that's deadly. I feel like what if you have 2 or 3 of them in one go, you're probably
game over.
You're on the way to being finished. Like, do you know what I mean? That's
The danger with this is it's actually light enough and enjoyable enough in terms of flavors that you won't slow yourself drinking this. You will drink this at a normal pace and then be like, oh yeah, I'll have 5 more of those, please.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'm struggling with is the carbonation that we said earlier. It's I always find it weird in a stout. I prefer a stout to be really kind of smooth and creamy. It doesn't take that much away from it, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the carbonation kind of adds to it in this. I think if this was that kind of smooth creaminess you're talking about, it wouldn't be as light as it is. I think it would feel heavier, which would maybe detract from how easy it is to drink at such a high percentage. Do you get what I mean? Like the carbonation kind of breaks it up a bit. Whereas if it was smoother, it'd be heavier and, you might feel more full from it.
The carbonation also kind of plays a nice role in that while it does leave some aftertaste in your mouth, that's an enjoyable flavour, it doesn't leave too much, because with the kind of more decadent stouts you can drink, and especially the higher alcohol content ones, the aftertaste can build to a sickening point, like where you're like, this is too sweet, or this is too much coffee flavour, or too chocolatey. I can't handle this, I'm not going to finish the last couple of mouthfuls. This just has enough to keep it nice and steady for the whole way through.
Yeah, I get that. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing. The other thing I like about this is that as I get older, I prefer to have less cans that have more alcohol content, as opposed to having a high number of cans with low alcohol content, because I feel like I can take my time drinking it and enjoy it and sip it. And this is definitely much more of a sipper than it is a kind of a, you're not going to down this and then go looking for your next one straight away. You can enjoy it over the course of almost a whole evening.
I think at the same time you say that by going straight on to your next one. I think you'd probably need a nap after it, to be honest. Grab your bearings again.
I don't know. I know eventually you'd fill up, like with any stout. If you drink it too quickly, you kind of, clog your digestive system. But I just think with this, like, when you finish a mouthful, you're kind of smacking your lips a little bit, like, yeah, I'll have another mouthful. Like if you were in a pub having a chat or watching some football, you wouldn't even notice this going down. It would just be gone on you. You'd look down and you'd be like, oh, where did that go?
Yeah, and the big thing with that is, like we're saying, lads, this is 10%. That shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't be able to drink something as easily as you could drink this.
Definitely not.
It's crazy good. It's crazy. Yeah, the flavors are great. For me, I think the flavors are great. Like that coffee's very subtle. It's really kind of like a roasted chocolate, so it is, that's there. That alcohol kind of warmth that's there is savage. I don't know if you want to go to the ratings, but I know where I am.
Okay, well look, I'll go last on this one. So
okay, like I said, I not being hit with that heavy alcohol at the beginning, it makes a huge difference for me. But at the end, it's still heavy, and I still have about half left, and it does feel like a meal that I know that I'm starting to kind of feel like, oh, is there much left of it? Not because it's bad by any means, just feels like because it's a lot, but it's still very enjoyable. The taste of that chocolate and even coffee, which I don't like, stands out against that heavy percentage of alcohol. So, and like we've all said, very, very dangerous drink. Like Kinger said, or Marcus saying, he's like, you have that while you're watching a match or something, and then next minute you're about to start your third pint and you can't even see the TV anymore, and you're like, boys, I'm here a half an hour, what's going on?
You're trying to get out for the match.
There you are. Am I even at a match? I mean, but it's still lovely. So I go straight up beautiful.
Yeah, I'll go next, and yeah, for me this is unbelievable. Like, the flavors in it are beautiful and rich without being overpowering. The carbonation works perfectly in keeping the consistency of taste all the way through the pint. Bang on. The first sip is the same as the last sip, which is massive. It's got that lovely little warmth at the end of your mouthful that's not, boozy or in any way. It somehow enhances the kind of chocolate aromas that are left in your mouth after a sip. It smells nice as well. It looks good. It's smooth enough, but not, it's not fizzy, but I guess it's not super creamy like a Guinness, but it's still smooth enough to be enjoyable of a mouthfeel. And the only problem with Panda Nero's Brew's Double Panda is when you're finished, you don't have another can. It's the only problem with it. So unbelievable for me.
Having a second can is probably a good thing, though, not having a second one with the strength of it.
It depends how you live your life, Walshy. It's not how I live mine.
One day at a time.
Yeah, I think Brew should do like the WF, not the wrestling, the wildlife people, and take this back from extinction, man. Make more of this. Don't let it die out. Get this back. I'll eat bamboo if it makes you get Double Panda back on the shelves. It's unreal, lads. I think it's class. Everything that you were saying there, Mark and Walshy, the flavor is class. It's very chocolatey. It's crazy drinkable for a 10% beer. It's ridiculous. Like I can't. You need to go out and experience it for yourselves. I cannot describe how ridiculously drinkable it is for a 10% beer. The lightness of it, it's not heavy in any way. Like you could actually drink a couple of these. The only thing that might be slowing it down a little bit is that it's somehow managed to stay really sweet for something with such a high percentage. Like you'd nearly get turned off by the sweetness more than the high alcohol content, in my opinion. It's not heavy. The carbonation that's there, I think it adds to the lightness for this beer. Like we were saying earlier, it kind of washes away the flavour just enough so that it's not overpowering after each mouthful. That little bit of warmth that you get after you've drank it, it's quality. It's just unbelievable. It's unpandaleavable. Class.
Don't come in here and try and change the rating terms by using this. That's not on.
I didn't. I said unbelievable first, and then I did.
And then you said unpandaleavable almost instantly, trying to make it the same thing, which it's not.
Can I just say, Kinger, like in fairness to Nally, he's doing this part of the podcast now. You wouldn't really be too familiar with it, but it's being entertaining to our listeners. That's mainly what it is. He made a little joke there, and I know you and all your little look at me. I work for a radio station. I'm going to be the big man on the podcast. Okay, it doesn't work here because he made a funny joke and you're putting him down for humour. So I'd like you to apologise.
I missed a lot of that, so I don't know what happened.
Kinger's upset with me.
No, I'm not upset.
You're just disappointed, are you?
What happened? So tell me what happened.
I know. I don't know. Lads, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. One part of me wants to like it because you guys like it. The other part of me is okay not liking it because it's a stout and it's a flavour that it doesn't need to be.
That's a little bit prejudiced. That it's a flavour it doesn't need to be. I know you're prejudiced against stouts, and
I
will say
they don't need those
you have to judge it personally on your own personal opinions. But just listen. Just go with the rock set of modus operandi.
Listen to your heart.
I thought you were going to go full Jim Leahy from Trailer Park Boys there. Instead of alcohol.
There's so much alcohol you probably can hear it.
The answers, Randy. It's an enjoyable beer to a certain extent. I do get the kind of very subtle coffee notes, but like much more chocolatey flavor coming through. And I've always said I like that kind of alcohol-y type heat from high percentage beers, and it has all those. I'm about halfway through the glass, and it's starting to become a bit of an effort. I think it's beautiful. I think to give it anything less than that, I think would be unfair. Like really, it's a nice tasting beer. There are a few things I would do differently to maybe award it an unbelievable. And like that, I would have no qualms or problems with it being rated unbelievable. Like it's far from a bad beer. It's quite nice. It is enjoyable, and I said earlier, it's a long game type of beer. It's not like you're going to neck it down and start your second one. Like it's a sipper. So yeah, I would say I'd say beautiful. But almost a begrudging beautiful.
Fair enough.
If a man who, self-professedly hates decadent stouts is going to give it a beautiful, I think that's a win for Brew. And you did really well with the Panda Nero. And we said at the time we'd love to do something else, especially the double Panda. We've mentioned it a few times, and I'm absolutely ecstatic that it's lived up to expectations. Not just for you guys, but for me as well. I'd only had it once before, so when you only have a beer once, you're kind of stuck in the moment that you had it. Maybe you were in a super good mood that day, or all the criteria lined up right, and it really had external forces working for it. But the fact that I've enjoyed it on two separate occasions so far apart, and I did not have a good day today, so it very much cheered me up. So I'm really happy that it's stood up. And
yeah, just to add to that, Mark, I know you're saying that kind of it could be a multitude of factors coming together. You've had a really good day and the stars just align and everything. The other thing is you could just be a beer that Big Juicy's had and he's rating on Untapped, because you're probably going to get a 5 then as well.
Very true.
Unless you were the two beers we had last week.
I don't know where all the shade is coming from this evening.
I'll tell you exactly. I'll tell you exactly.
Why am I the target now?
I'll tell you exactly why it is. This is why it is, Big Juicy. It's because all season long you have been Lord of the Edit, and we can't slag you. So we've always picked on each other. But this one day of freedom,
I have absolutely left Pinger slags in the episode.
I think we have our outro.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just going to say one thing before you do your bit there, Juicy. I don't know if Brew have stated that it's absolutely done, but if Panda Nero is still a thing, there is always a strong possibility that Double Panda could come back at some stage.
Yeah, so I guess the Urban Jungle range tends to have one drink of each style. So the stout style is their Panda Nero. So yeah, you're right. As long as it's still there, there's a chance, and I really, really hope they bring it back, because if they do, I'll be stockpiling this shit. I didn't do it this time, and struggling to get another can of it now, but I will stockpile it again if it comes out.
Sure, that's a mighty fine evening for Brew's Double Panda. They're after getting an unbelievable from the Crafty Crew podcast.
I think it's better than Adam, who's played ball with us a couple of times. He's from Leitrim, and I think your Leitrim accent is.
He won't like that.
Yeah, I think.
Like
well, to be fair, I think your Leitrim accent is better than his, so I wouldn't worry about it.
But just before we call an end to this season's podcast, I wanted to ask you really quick: have you any standout beers / moments or highlights from the season that you want to talk about?
I'm going to jump in quick because I have a terrible memory, and while I have remembered a few and I've taken points of every episode, I'd like to jump in first if that's okay. Moments, just recently, just me actually finding my niche in like the second to last episode of the season was very well done by me. But hopefully when the next season does start, I'll have I can work off that and make it a full thing. But if we're talking about beers, I mean, there's a few. I mean, I will say not even for the beer, but just like what it tasted like. But Savage Pure, because boobs are cool. Like you've Panda Nero, Puka, Raspberry, Red Noir, all top quality beers for me. Astral Grains, So and Scott Cider will be one I'll remember as well. Not for the positive.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to remember the time Walshy won the Olympics quiz. That was very good.
Yes.
Just out of nowhere, beating everybody on the last question, and he'd 0 points, and you had like 2 points, I think, and you guys got like 1 point each, and he got 4, and he just won. That was fucking brilliant. But yeah, to kind of jump on the Savage Pure bit with Walshy, the stouts this season we've had have been fantastic. Astro Grains Lineman, Savage Pure from Treaty City, today's Double Panda, Panda Nero from Brew, like absolutely gorgeous, delicious stouts that I have fallen in love with. Astro Grains I've since bought like 3 or 4 times. Panda Nero I'd had already. Same with Double Panda. I've been trying to buy Double Panda, buying Panda Nero regularly. And Treaty City, I got Walshy to like hit me up and get me a couple of cans of that shit because it's so good. So yeah, the stouts and Walshy winning a quiz my two highlights of the season.
I'm actually a bit like Walshy. I'm struggling to remember specific beers from podcast. What was had we recently enough? Was it a Puka from the White Hag?
Yeah, the Puka Sour, yeah.
That was quite nice. I did enjoy Mary Tiller actually.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Mary Tiller from Kinnegar. They're probably my beer highlights. I mean, Walshy's, I don't know what you call them at the start, whispers, and then that morphed into Walshy's wisdoms that we actually all quite enjoy now. Has been another highlight. To be fair, I'm never ever telling anyone that I can do accents again because clearly I can't. So, that's my lesson. That's my lesson from this season.
Before we go on, I don't know if I'm happy with everybody's highlight being me. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Hey man, all press is good press. So for me, highlights have been beer-wise, very much like you, Mark. The stouts we've gone through have been class. Astral Grains was amazing, so it was an unbelievable stout. I've picked one up recently, and it's actually sitting in front of me at the minute. And only for this was a school night. Jesus, I'd be lacing into it. But I think Double Panda will do enough for now, so it will. So that was a big highlight. We also had a highlight for me as well was the where was it from? Was the way back in episode 1, I think it was Cork, was the Pineapple Express. It was like one of the first IPAs I had. It wasn't like the flavor wasn't great, but it was just the novelty of it. I thought it was pretty good. So I was a fan of that. And then the Sergeant Jimmy was a surprising one that I thought was very good.
Yes.
Really liked Sergeant Jimmy. It was just a surprising beer that I thought was really good. And especially because Big Juicy, tried to badmouth them, which I thought was a little overzealous of him and a little harsh. But that was one that was a highlight for me. But my highlight for the episode was the fact that it, for so long we got to talk about one of the greatest people in the world, who is Eamon Dunphy. And because we got to do that for so long, I was so happy. I think, overall, I'd say Kinger has about 63 years of unused audio clips. Like,
yeah. So, guys, that's us for season 2. It's been a absolutely thoroughly enjoyable experience for us doing this podcast. Like, we absolutely love every minute of it, and we're delighted that there's people out there like yourselves who enjoy listening to us. So don't worry, we will be back. Okay, we're going to have a couple of specials between now and Christmas. And 2022 is going to kick off season 3 of the Crafty Crew podcast, which is already in the works. We have Walshy's, the hamster that lives in Walshy's brain, working overtime, thinking up of new episode ideas and plot lines and shit. So don't worry about that. We'd really appreciate it if you give us a like on Facebook and a share when this comes out. Subscribe to us on YouTube or on Spotify. Follow us so you get all the episodes when they do come out. And again, as listeners, we just want to thank you for all the support and all the banter that we get in our real lives when you call us out on something or mention something from an episode. It's very uplifting from our point of view when one of you guys mentions something and we know you've been listening. So normally we say goodbye, but I think this week we're going to say a big thank you. So it's a really big thanks from me. It's a really big thanks from Walshy.
Thank you very much, guys.
A really big thanks from Nally.
Gramila Sheila.
And from Mr. Innocent himself, Big Juicy. It's a big
Gracias.
We'll be back soon for more Crafty Crew goodness. So see you then.